racial segregation in public facilities. In the same year, King became the
Do you think you can outplay me in this game of wits and knowledge? Can you go 7 rounds without flinching? I meant answering 7 questions correctly. How well can you hold your liquor? If you're curious, then join us for the most exciting conversation and games with your favorite celebrities on 7 of 7.
The time has come to experience the power of faith, music, and praise. This is the Max Urban Gospel Chart Show. Every Sunday from 10 a.m., tune in to catch the pulse-pounding beats and soul-stirring melodies that will elevate your faith and leave a lasting impact on your heart. The Max Urban Gospel Chart Show. Every Sunday from 10 a.m. exclusively on Max FM, where we count down the best 20 urban gospel hits from around the world. Get your praise on. You're my provider. You're my provider.
It's Open House Thursday on Yovi. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. White Gate into building.
Good morning. Good morning. I know we have to be very fast on our banter, but please let me use this opportunity to say a big thank you to Mariah.
What happened again?
What you got for me from Paris?
Oh, White Gate. You got to rub it in, right?
You got your...
You got my poison.
Hey. When I saw it, I'm like, no, I'm going to get this one.
Man, when I saw it like this, I was okay. I jumped.
You can't say it in English. Can you work? Good to have you. I love your outfit, though.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. How are you doing,
Still celebrating with Nima.
Very good. Happy to be here. This week has been, I've been here every day of this week, so it's almost like repetitive, but I'm happy to be here. Wishing you all enjoy the public holiday. It doesn't make any sense that we're still at public holiday.
You know you're always absent.
Anyways, let's go.
How you doing?
I'm doing very okay. Today the kids have told me that after the review, just come home. Don't go anywhere, because I've been staying at work for stuff, every single day.
They saw me yesterday and they were like, You came back home so early today. I said there's public holiday, so...
For some reason, I had work to do, so I had to
go home.
Right after the show, I'm rushing to the house. Please. Let's go to shop. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, as the Damis joined the show, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
You okay?
In fact, I'm trying to be okay. I think probably this festive season didn't go down well with me.
Really?
I ate something yesterday, and since that yesterday night, I've been up and down, puking, going to the restroom, and
so much food.
No, I think probably I suspect food poisoning. Maybe some hygiene is not enough. So I think, like I always say, now waiting no concern me now I go chop.
All right, let's go right into the papers. Hopefully, you can make it to the show.
Yes.
Let's start with The Nation. Diesel price cut driving down inflation, says Dangote. Believe in our government, Tinubu urges Nigerians. Amotekun arrests 45 suspects for alleged kidnapping others in Ondo. Kwara mourns ex-appeal court justice Dogore. Idil Fitri Day tragedies. Police rescue 6 abducted kids. Makinde cautions against disunity over Olubadan store. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Dangote. So the Dangote refinery president visited, that's the Dangote refinery group, not Dangote refinery alone. Dangote visited the president to pay homage for the Eid, and while he was there, he mentioned the fact that the fact that Dangote refinery is selling diesel for 1,200 as opposed to the market value of 1,650 to 1,700 should bring down inflation. As of February, inflation was already 31.70%, and they are expecting that with this, because everything was impacted by the high cost of diesel, that this would drive the price down a little. He also acknowledged the president for the good work going on in bringing down the price of dollar to the naira, and that would also influence on inflation. So they expect. He noted he said that the price of locally produced goods would also come down because people are paying less for diesel as a cost for transportation. All of this was said during his visit to the president. He said Nigerians should be patient and believe that a lot of goodies would come through, that there's improvements already showing up right now. We should just be patient. Then there were other conversations that took place that the president also said one step at a time, because Nigerians are expecting the petrol should come out from the Dangote refinery. Everything that is supposed to be produced within the refinery should come out. But the president was supporting the statement by saying that one step at a time. The government is working around the clock. They are also working around the clock with commerce and government working hand in hand. We should see improvements within the economy.
All right, so in addition to that, also, yesterday, during the prayers, the Eid prayers yesterday, our president was here at Dodo Barracks in Lagos, while the vice president was in Borno, also at the Eid ground, and they were all just admonishing Nigerians to continue to believe in the government. Specifically, our president said, he was speaking on the ground, Dodo Barracks ground yesterday, he said he urged Nigerians to have faith in his administration and assured that his renewed hope agenda will bring progress and prosperity. He said the agenda was being diligently implemented by his government, and he urged Nigerians to be patriotic and protect the nation's integrity. Something similar was also said by the vice president, who also prayed and said that the renewed hope agenda is alive, well and fine, and Nigerians should continue to be very hopeful. Without hope, there is no salvation.
So, unfortunately, there were some tragedies yesterday. Lagos, Ogun, Kogi, Anambra states. There was a bus that overturned on 3rd Mainland. I wanted to use that as my banter, but we didn't have enough time, you know. He was speeding, he lost control, his brakes failed, and he threw 2 people over the river, you know. And, you know, I saw the video as well where they were, they saw the guy, you know, but there was no one to save him. You know, he went, it was terrible. The lady, they didn't even see, a man and a woman. But I just wanted to use this one, that bridge, they need to put cameras on that bridge. So all of us that over, because we will all break the traffic. Lagos State will make money. They will make money. By the time they start sending all of us texts, you are caught speeding.
Yes, now.
Pay 20,000.
Yeah, I got one now from Alausa.
I think it's been implemented, the cameras, because I noticed, but I'm not, yes, on 3rd Mainland, I'm not too sure, but I noticed that it looks like a camera. And also, there's been a speed limit. The Lagos State government has also come out to say there's been a speed limit of 80 km per hour. And of course, if you default, I'm sure that probably those cameras will be the ones to...
They will make so much money. All of us will pay.
Because I've been seeing videos myself of, this road is very smooth and this and that. So we just need to take caution.
So, yeah, and then the Osolo of Isolo also passed away after his prayers. He passed, he was only 64.
Yes, really sad.
Yeah, the governor, president, they've all commiserated.
Any other story in Nation? Should we move on? Okay, the Punch. Defend Nigeria support leaders Tinubu Buhari urge Nigerians. NAFDAC orders recall of toxic cough syrup. Ondo Amoteku naps 14 suspected kidnappers, 31 others. Olubadan designates health. Ladoja fought Otumbalogun Makinde says no crisis. Electricity tariff. FG plans 1.5 trillion naira savings. Excuse me. 2.5 million meter installations. Banks customers complaints jumped by 63%, says report. Cash crunch hits CCB state. Offices assess verifications face hurdles. Okay, which story?
So I have the Ondo Amoteku naps 14 suspected kidnappers and 31 others. And this one says that the Ondo State Security Network Agency, also known as the Amoteku, on Wednesday paraded no fewer than 45 suspects in the state. And the Amoteku spokesperson, Mr. Adeleye, also stated that they have arrested 14 kidnappers. He said that we have a particular case where we were able to break the kidnap syndicate in Akoko local government. The 2 kidnap victims are present with the bike, and the kidnappers were supplied with. In our strive to bring out the kidnapper, they had confessed was machete in several places by fellow kidnappers who wanted to cover up the crime. So I think that like we all clamor for state policing, giving Amoteku the right paraphernalia to be able to carry out duty. And this is a good, knowing fully well that a few years back, Ondo State was very volatile with kidnapping and banditry. So I think for me, it's a good one that, okay, we're gradually getting all of these people who hide under the shadows to perpetrate evil. So it's a good one for Amoteku.
Let me go on a short break now. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Made Kuti in the building. It's still 7 of 7, and we've been doing a whole lot of protesting. The only thing that remains is just to carry placard.
It's about 5 of 7, to be honest, because ask your question. I have so much to speak about once we finish.
We will not give you the time because it's 7 of 7.
I will make the time now. He said he will not ask questions about science.
No.
Neuroplasticity.
And based on
he asked a question that was subjective about high life, and he did not.
So,
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Any other story? Yes.
Yeah, I took the Otun Oluibadan of Ibadan land, and the former governor of Oyo State, High Chief Rashidi Lajoja, has challenged the competence of the Otun Balogun of Ibadan land. For him, he spoke about the medical fitness of the new designate, the new Oluibadan designate. He said he didn't have the rights to or the competence to say that. Apparently, he had said he's not medically fit, and he can't take the throne. So he says he has no rights and they doesn't have the competence, and that they will continue with the ceremony on Friday. It was supposed to be today, but because of the holiday, and that they will continue with the ceremony. He said. He spoke through his special advisor on media, Suleiman Olanrewaju.
Right.
And
all right.
He said the guy is 80. Are we expecting him to be like a 20-year-old or a 60-year-old? That is 80, so they should just
allow him with the president. All right. So I was going to take the power sector story. The federal government has raised the amount that it would save this year, following the recent hike in the electricity tariff for Band A customers. 1.5 trillion naira is expected and projected to raise. We are still waiting for our first bill. We have not gotten the first bill yet. It also stated that 2.5 million meters will be installed this year in the bid to bridge the metering gap across the country to ensure consumers pay the right amount for electricity. Many of those who have been given the estimated bill have been complaining that they need those meters. So, according to the special advisor to the president on information, Bayo Ononuga stated that the move by the government to withdraw electricity subsidy on 15% of power sub-consumers in Nigeria would save the government 1.1 trillion naira annually. Ononuga also said that the president's administration was poised to allow the price hike in electricity given its 450 billion naira budget for energy subsidies in 2024.
Excuse me, so when they don't give us these 20 hours, we will still be buying diesel. We will be paying high rates.
Are you in Band A, first of all?
Shrine is in Band A. Shrine has been in Band A since they have been giving us bill that's been knocking our head. Now they want to, and they don't give us 20 hours.
But your issue, like, you don't have a meter. You need a meter. So hopefully you get...
We have a meter.
But
you used to get
but they don't give us... They won't give us a... Prepaid. Because if we are prepaid, everybody can... But manage. This one, they just come. Give us the
estimated bill.
Hey. No, we have to bring our guests to come and talk about this.
We have to, because
right.
I mean, if you are giving us 20 hours and we don't have to buy diesel, fine.
Enough. Yes.
But when you are not giving us that 20 hours and you are charging us for the 20 hours, come on.
And Tiani, come and patronize. We want to say we have entered business of solar panel, because in this economy now, everybody must enter business.
Any of that? Should we move on from point?
I have a story, a very serious story. I'm just marketing solar panel to Atieni so that we're importing solar panel to land. Cash crunch has hit the CCB, Code of Conduct Bureau. So the challenge is that the Code of Conduct Bureau, according to the state chapter, the 36 states have not gotten funded in the past 7 months. So they have their salary, but they are not giving the funds to do their work. So they become like a toothless bulldog, according to the findings of Punch. Punch said they reached out to the spokesperson for the Code of Conduct Bureau. The person said he's not aware that everybody's been getting their money. That's what according to his name is Kato. I'm trying to get his first name, but I can't find his first name. But they refer to him as Katua, and he said that because yesterday was public holiday, he can't get the numbers, but he knows that all of them have been getting funded. However, in the budget for 2023, they gave what was allocated to Code of Conduct Bureau was 2 billion, and what Code of Conduct Bureau is asking for 2024 is over 15 billion. So there is obviously a lack of funding going on. The over 1,000 states, governors, deputy governors, all the top high-ranking workers in states submit their code of conduct form. But the code of conduct bureau they say they are struggling to even pay electricity bill. They can't fuel their car because they do not have any allowance. They can't pay cleaners. They can't pay water bills. And so they can't even do the work they are meant to do, which is to checkmate and investigate the forms that they have received since last year, that they haven't worked on it. In some cases, some of the properties are not even in Nigeria. They can't even go about processing it or out of the state where they are working. So, and the idea of the code of a particular person, Kako, the Center for Accountability and Open Leadership, Deba Adedino, said that the anti-corruption agencies have constantly been underfunded, which is part of the problem, to help to make them ineffective. So it's just a figurehead, and we can do much better.
Got to move on now to Daily Sun. Chibok parents renew moves for rescue of abducted daughters. Makinde Ladoja breaks silence on controversy surrounding Olubadan designate. Air peace sparks price war on London-Lagos. 5 die in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, 3rd Mainland Bridge crashes. That was really sad story that I took earlier. Idil Fitri, love Nigeria, defend her integrity, says Tinubu. Customs slashes import duty rates to 1,238 naira to the dollar. Nollywood actor Junior Pope, earlier rumored dead, is alive. Nigeria recalls children's cough syrup over toxic substance. And Passport, FG explores means to offset over 10 billion naira debt. Okay, which story are we taking, son?
The National Agency for Food and Drug, NAFDAC, are recalling a batch of Johnson & Johnson children's cough syrup because they were finding an unacceptably high level of potentially fatal toxic substance in it. They had laboratory tests.
Go ahead.
It's a big brand.
It's a big brand. It's called Benelin Pediatrics. So, and it's for children. So please, everyone, take note. Do not. They have recalled it. They are testing it, and they will let us know if it is okay for human consumption. They tried it on in the laboratory with animals, and they had this high toxicity.
Wow.
So of the level of diethylene glycol.
Okay. All right. Daily Sun. I was going to take the story. I thought the Nigerian Customs Service exchange rate for clearance of goods import duties assessment has dropped from 1,246 to 1,238. That's not much. But at least according to the dollar exchanges caused that. So this indicates the decrease of 6.14% in the last 48 hours. The official market rate of the naira to the dollar is now higher than the customs exchange rate of 1,200 naira, 248 naira. The naira strengthening over the previous few weeks is reflected in the customs exchange rates steady decline. It also showed how the CBN's reforms implemented since the year's commencement have affected the value of the naira on the foreign exchange market. So this will be good news for those who are importing into the country. So yeah, that's good news for them.
It is actually, because I remember that a few days back I was trying to help somebody get a car.
Yeah.
And the price of the car was like, for Mozu. And the person was like, it's a custom ban.
Yes,
so
for clearance.
I think for clearance. So I think it's a good one at least.
Yes. All right, let's move on now.
I want to take the story about River State. The governor of River State, similarly Fubara, has said that there's a stark reality of about 75% of primary schools in the state not having teachers. Said 90% of such schools are dilapidated condition. So he said he became aware of the deplorable state of the schools within River State when the new firm, New Global, in its partnership with the administration, did like an audit and field assessments of personnel that they intend to train, and they found out that 75% of the schools didn't have teachers, very dilapidated schools already. So obviously people are not even in those schools. He has assured that his administration will be focusing on education health and agriculture and ensure there's a change within those systems. I think the previous administration did a lot for infrastructure, so this can then focus on education. And then he also broke down how he was going to go about it, that he will put some money into education, but it's not really education, that they will renovate the school and call people for commissioning. It feels like any fund going to education should be going towards personnel and not just fixing the buildings alone. So I'm looking forward to the citizens of Rivers State getting Fubara to do the work.
Okay. Vanguard. Tariff hike, 20-hour supply for Band A customers under threat.
I wanted to read that story.
Third court. Air Peace Chair Onyema slams foreign airlines over conspiracy. PDP NEC meeting. Governors, others renew battle for party's soul. Transfer of pension money out of Nigeria escalates. Edo Guba, my impeachment won't stand, says Shebu. Alleged defamation. Beta Edu threatens to sue BBC. No cause for alarm on next Olubadan, says Makinde. And yeah, which story?
I have the alleged defamation of Beta Edu threatens to sue BBC. And this one says that the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Beta Edu, has threatened to file a lawsuit against the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, for defaming her personality. Edu disclosed this in a letter sent to BBC Abuja and London offices by her counsel, Chikao Solu Ojuku-san. According to the letter, the suspended minister claimed BBC reported that 30 billion naira was retrieved from her account from her on the ongoing probe by the EFCC. The lawyer alleged that the publication, which he described as false, had dented the reputation of his client. And also he said our client has suffered immeasurable reputational damage, psychological trauma and anguish as a direct consequence of the publication and dissemination of the article the letter read. So I think this one for me is just that by the time we engage in illegal activities, there is no telling to the outcome of how people can stretch and extend the stories.
And media entities must just be careful in certain things.
So if there are allegations of defamation by the BBC, I think I would also support her, because we need to be careful about the information that we disseminate to the public, because it never leaves our head. And that's what we carry on everywhere. And that BBC said, this said, that said. Yeah. So I think
we have to run. Any other story in Vanguard?
The Air Peace, the MD, chairman of Air Peace, has said that the foreign airlines are trying to undermine Air Peace because, you know, they came down and slashed their prices. So they have come down to even slash it even further. And he says, if you take a full plane and you put some people on the wings, at that $350 or $100, you won't cover your cost. So what they're trying to do is slide him out of business, and then they will now go back. And that if we fall for it, it will be 20 times. When they come back, they will come back. You know, when you go,
they will recover all the money they've lost.
Well, you know, when you go, you know, like catapult. When you catapult, like when it comes, they ask how they will do for us. So he's just imploring everyone, especially the government, even though the government
let's be patriotic.
Let's be patriotic. And I will use this opportunity to say, if you are traveling, please book Air Peace. I'm not Air Peace, but
we have all been publicized saying it as
Morale even emphasized yesterday that even if it gets expensive.
But that was before we knew that the other airlines are going to.
They've been trying to.
You know, he said that when, you know, they take off in time here. He says when they get to Gatwick, when they want to come back, say the carousel will not be working, this will not be working.
They don't treat us well. They don't give us a night.
They will keep them on the queue for hours so that the flights always take off late. So when you keep on taking off late, like that's how they will just say, no, your flight is always late. You know, so they are doing everything to sabotage their efforts. And I have to praise, even though I don't like praising government people, Festus Kuyamo is standing up to the plate. He's standing up to, no, seriously.
They try.
Because, you know.
Mikey, were you there? You're acting as if you're in the meeting.
I'm watching
Festus. Like when you like something, you know, you just know your body.
I love the thing.
Yes, that's why.
You know, much is given.
No, they said, you know, they are supposed to give when your flight is new to the airport. When you land, they are supposed to celebrate you. Hey, welcome.
They didn't celebrate us.
They didn't celebrate it. So Festus Kuyamo stood up. Why? They now celebrate it. They just say, after death. That's why you giving us You know, he tried to be gracious, but you could see.
I'm going to cut out this Festus Keyamo clip from you, and I'm going to post it just to remind YK that YK finally government. Finally, after 63 years.
I will always, if you are well, good, I will say it.
Okay, no problem.
If you are bad, I will still say it.
Anyways.
I like that, you know, they're supporting Airpeace. I like that Airpeace is doing, they need to be doing the American roots. We need to come back to our own. We need to.
Yes.
That's the only way.
Okay, YK, that's what you can
it's
say.
The only way.
Front page review. Me, I bought my Airpeace ticket already. I'm going to go and post it. I've bought my August. I'm traveling. Wherever it is.
I bought my
wherever you take me, just take me. As long as it's
Airpeace. It's biting my bum bum.
All right, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Benga Dainka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Benga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the questions.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata bata, I go drink. So.
Okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself for this. Because I have this question for you. Final question. No. Where outside Nigeria and what year? I think you're the only one that can be wicked.
I am thinking, because I know back in the day.
Don't think. Answer my question quick. You are thinking too much. I don't like it.
The UK.
Final answer. Okay. I said, God, please, let me to perform outside Nigeria.
Wait.
And God gave me a show in Ghana. Drink, my friend, drink. I don't
overthink this thing. See where I can.
Yes, you overthink them.
I would say you should catwalk.
Let's catwalk. Where are we?
No, that's not catwalking.
That's good talking.
Water is essential for life, yet millions around the world still lack access to clean and safe water. World Water Day serves as a reminder for the importance of water conservation, access, and sustainability. Every drop counts aims to raise awareness and inspire action towards ensuring a sustainable water future for all. Join in promoting peace through this water campaign, because when we safeguard water, we sow the seeds of peace for generations to come. This is not just a campaign, it's a call to action for individuals, communities, and policymakers to recognize the importance of water conservation and equitable access to clean water.
I mean, water can be an instrument for so many things. Water can be a weapon. Sometimes water can also be a trigger. And lastly, most importantly, water can be an instrument for peace. Boiling of water is the safest, easiest, and fastest route to getting clean, potable water. It is said that 3 out of every 10 Nigerians do not have access to clean, potable water. As a doctor, there are a host of diseases that could be transmitted via use of unsafe water. Some of the diseases, commonly, in fact, is diarrhea. There are some others, such as schistosomiasis, which can cause quite some very serious health challenges, and in the long run could even cause things like bladder cancer, trachomatis, which could lead to blindness. Can you imagine that just from unsafe water?
At TVC Communications, we know that by working together, we can ensure a sustainable water future for generations to come.
Thanks for staying with us. Welcome back to our sponsored segment. We have with us Yusuf Kafo. He's the Associate Director, International Recruitment University of Wolverhampton, England, United Kingdom. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show. So tell us about studying in the UK and Ireland. How is the process? What is it like?
Yeah, I mean, studying in the UK, there are lots of benefits to studying in the UK. I think one of the first things is around how a lot of the top 100 universities around the world, nearly 20% of those are from the UK. I think it's to do with the transdisciplinary and how we teach students. It's not just theoretical, but also practical. I think for me, in the UK, by studying, it enhances employability for students. Most of the universities have links with industry. So, for example, at Wolverhampton, we have lots of links with multinational and national companies, and we tend to take our students out, into the industry to learn firsthand what's going on. I think the other things as well, it improves people's independence, their resilience, adaptability, and on the other side of things as well, the cost of studying in the UK, because of the tuition fees, the duration of the programs, they're actually a lot more cost effective than other destinations as well. In the UK, at Wolverhampton, we offer a range of scholarships, bursaries, but additionally to that, our tuition fees and living cost expense is quite low as well. So for international students, so it's quite it's for in terms of finances or the employability aspect, it's a great place to be.
Okay.
So how does your university recognize and accommodate the specific educational needs and aspirations of Nigerian students seeking
study in the UK?
The study.
Yeah, I think as a university, in the recent international QS rating, we've got 5 stars overall for our inclusivity and internalization. I think that shows how much we go far and above and beyond, should I say, in how we want to make sure we recognize students and accommodate them. For Nigerian students, we look at our entry requirements, for example, to make sure that we recognize the WIEC, for example, the degrees in the UK, in Nigeria, are similar to that of the UK. So for students, it makes it so much easier for them to transition into our university. We help students to build their CV. We understand, studying is about career aspirations, career progression, so we help, in different aspects of that. So whether it's bringing employers into the university, taking our students out into the industry, but also within the support services that we have on campus. So student support, the Ask service, the careers and workplace, these are different teams that we have to ensure we can support our students.
Okay, so I'd like to ask, the support systems that your university has in providing things like visa application processing, how do you help with securing scholarship, and even if they have other financial consideration, what does the university do to support Nigerian students in these places?
Quite a lot, to be honest, for all our students, but specifically for Nigerian students, we have lots of different resources in place and support systems. So one of the first things I will say is, as myself, as a director, I'm always traveling to Nigeria to meet with parents, to meet with students, to meet with our partners as well, to give that good information, first-hand information to students. We have a dedicated team here in Nigeria as well, supporting students. So it's not just to speak to me by email only, or virtually. It's about making sure someone can speak to people directly. We have a student support team, We have education agents in country. So, for example, we work closely with Study Across the Globe. They're an education agency here in Nigeria. We're going to be attending their fairs tomorrow and Friday and Saturday at the Federal Palace and Sheraton Hotel. And our aim is, as a university, to make sure we partner with really good agents where they can give good information and counselling to prospective students and parents as well. So, the service that we provide will include, visa advice, how to choose a program, how to apply for accommodation, traveling to the UK, buying your tickets. So there's lots of information and services services that we provide. We're in Wolverhampton, so our closest international airport is Birmingham. But again, we say to our students, look, you can travel to London, so whether it's Air Peace you want to fly with, please do. Go to London, and then you can get a train from London directly to Wolverhampton. It's less than 2 hours away. So in terms of, again, looking at how you get to Wolverhampton University is very easily accessible.
Can you tell us about the Study Across Globe Limited and how they have been supportive of studying in the UK?
Yeah, so I've worked in a number of UK universities, and over the past probably nearly a decade now, I've worked closely with Study Across the Globe. They have supported, the students coming into Wolverhampton right from the awareness stage. So they do a lot of events. They've got over 20 staff members. The head office is here in Ikeja, but they have other offices that will be opening up soon as well. So with the different teams that they have, a counselling team, a visa advice team, a student support team, compliance team, their aim is to make sure they provide as much information firsthand to applicants, to students, to ensure that they're making the right and informed decision. I also know with the work that we're doing at the moment within the sector in the UK about the agent quality framework, Study Across the Globe are also, they've got counsellors who are certified on the agent database as well. So that, again, that adds to the professionalism and the standard that we're hoping from any of our agents.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Can you just share some success stories, testimonials from Nigerian students?
Yeah, we'll be here for, I don't know, maybe for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. But I think I've got a couple really which I'd like to share with you. I'll start off with, so recently we had one of our graduates who was an ambassador at the university, a student ambassador. And she's currently now working with myself in the office as a full-time position. I think that just highlights obviously what we try and do as an office, as a university, to give advice and support and employability opportunities to our students. We've got Chimakalu, who's also back in Abuja now, who is an MD, but also our chairman, the president of our Alumni Association. The last two, I want to mention Adesuwa Etomi Wellington. She's a graduate of the University of Wolverhampton.
Really?
Yes. And then Abidare as well, a Amazon #1 best author, New York best time seller. She's also a University of Wolverhampton graduate as well. One of the key things for us, as I mentioned before, in the international QS rating, we've also got 5 stars for employability. So we do try as best as we can to ensure, when we do have, our students are not just coming in a classroom, speaking to a professor, doing an assignment. It's about making sure they have real life skills so that they can take that away with them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaz. I think, we've pretty much learned quite a bit about Wolverhampton, and I'm sure lots of students who need more information or attend the fair tomorrow. Tell us a bit about the fair tomorrow so that we can wrap up.
Yeah, so the fair tomorrow will be at the Federal Palace on the island, and then on Saturday as well at the Sheraton Hotel. It's a great opportunity. There'll be over 40 different universities there. Wolverhampton will be there as well. I will be there in person. Okay. So please, if you are looking, if the UK is an option for you, or Ireland, or the US or Canada, then please do come along to those 2 days that's been organised by Study Across the Globe. It will start from 10 till 4 p.m.
Cool. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Let's go on a short break now. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail, or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Thanks for staying with us. So a decade ago, 276 Chibok girls were seized from their school by Islamist Boko Haram militants. The kidnapping sparked a huge global outcry, and 10 years on, almost 100 of those Chibok girls are still thought to be held captive. Speaking on this is Dr. Aisha Mohammed Oyibode. She is the co-founder of the Bring Back Our Girls movement and CEO of the Murtala Mohammed Foundation. Welcome with us, our guest. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So to join the conversation, you can call us on 081-0764-1679, 090-241-63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. It's always a pleasure to have people come on and talk about these kind of projects, because lots of Nigerians, this was a major situation in Nigeria that had its global attention. And 10 years on, Nigerians are still wondering what's going on with the girls. Could you just give us a bit of an update from your own perspective, where we are with the Chibok girls and how they are doing, if what the government is doing so far to bring them back?
Okay, so let me start by saying that. So we're actually releasing a report later this afternoon. That's a foundation. Because we've been tracking the girls since 2015. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the book that I've written as a result of that. So in 2014, April 14, 276 girls were actually taken from their school. Now, the really unfortunate thing was, they didn't go in looking for girls. They went looking for a block-making machine, and they were looking for food. Everybody knew at that time, yes, this is something that has come out as a result of the girls who have actually now come back and who've told us what happened. So, at that time, Buniya, they had happened in Yobe State about a month and a half before. They had gone into the school, killed 59 boys. And then they had locked the girls in an assembly hall and told them, go home, school is not a place for girls. So everybody should have been on alert. Memos had gone round that they shouldn't have allowed girls into school. Somebody somewhere must have lost the memo. they gathered 300 plus girls in one place. Some of them were girls who had left the school 10 years before and were taking remedial classes. That was why, if you notice, in the list of the girls that were released in 2017, one of them actually came back with a baby that had been conceived before she went into captivity because she was already married and pregnant. So they got there, had actually taken the food, were still looking for the block making machine and couldn't believe their eyes when they saw 300 girls, plus girls. So they panicked. The first thing was, should we burn them? Second one was, let's burn them alive, let's kill them, let's do this. And then one of them just said, you know what, let's take them to Shekau. You'll know what to do with them. So they removed all the food, went into the community, sequestered more vehicles, packed all of the girls in these trucks and started going to Sambisa Forest. Now you need to understand this. They were traveling so slowly. 57 girls managed to jump out. They were grabbing onto trees. They were, jumping out of trucks. One or two had injuries. And the worst thing about it was that parents were calling the military, they were calling the police, and there was no response. On the outskirts of Sambisa, they were there for 3 days. Finally, Boko Haram took 219 girls into Sambisa. And you know that it took almost 2 years for the first girl to come out. At that time, there was so much despair, nobody knew. And a year after that was when Boko Haram started using girls as female suicide bombers. So there was a lot of fear that they could have been the Chibok girls, but it's turned out that that's not the case, at least not that we can verify. Now, between then and now, we have a total of 128 girls who have made it back. 21 were negotiated for in October 2016. Another set were negotiated for in May 2017, 82. And then, in between, girls were just coming back in bits. Some of them would escape. Some of them, if the military went into Sambisa Forest or into their camps, they would bring them back. Some they would just, find a lot of women, random women, and we would find that some of the Chibok girls were amongst them. Today, we still have 91 girls in Boko Haram captivity till today.
91. Are there any plans to try and release them? How do we get to them? Because 10 years ago, that means if they were 16, they are 26 now.
Yeah.
They're adults. Yeah, they are full-grown women now. What can we do to help these girls?
So, in fact,
now they're women.
To even go to your point, 10 years, so the youngest girl at that time was probably 13. Today she's 23. If you imagine that the first 3 years of her life, she didn't know much. She's actually spent half of her life with Boko Haram insurgents. So we have a real live issue now. Because the most recent girls who've come out 10 years later, right, have been married, they've had children. Some have come out. Oh, by the way, the statistic, 34 children were born to the Chibok girls. So you can imagine what we're talking about in terms of the sexual assault, forced marriage. A lot of them were forced to marry. So you now have girls who've come back and who have said they're not going to come. In fact, when they were asking that they should release them, said they won't come back if they won't come back with their Boko Haram husbands and their children. So
is the conversation now, is it still around bringing back our girls? Is it still around, should the clamor still be concerning bringing them back, or in trying to resettle what the family system would look like? What exactly is this is a decade after Chibok, what is the next advocacy concerning Chibok going to look like? Obviously,
assuming they are adults already and already assimilated into that.
No longer bring back our girls. Yeah. It is now, it has to morph into something else. What do you foresee it morphing into, and how do you believe the next stage of advocacy should, what part should it take?
So for me, I think it's accounting for the girls. Let's even start by even trying to account for all the 219 girls. At least we believe at least a third of them have been killed. Yes, we know that. Some of them, the Nigerian military admitted that they were killed in airstrikes, and then some of them clearly they died from childbirth, some of them died from snake bites. But because the official figures have not been released, it's very difficult for anybody. But the girls have come back. One or two families have been notified, especially if the girls who were out there were related to them. So there was a girl who came back and said her cousin died on her lap. And she just, especially when she came back, they said, look, you can't tell her mother because how are we going to deal with it? Well, she said she just couldn't. She kept having dreams about her, and eventually they said to her, look, you have to tell the mother. And they've now had a service. But that's one occasion. So I think the issue is accountability. There are enough girls who've come back who have told us where the remaining girls are. Yes, at least roughly. They took them to other parts of Africa quite quickly. The most recent girl was found in Cameroon. The most recent girl who was found in Cameroon. Wow. Some of them, the rumors are they took them as far as Central African Republic.
Wow. As far as
Central African Republic. But if they speak to the girls, they should be able. Let's account for most of the girls. Let's even know where they are. I still think the clamor for bring back our girls hasn't expired. I think it's important because these girls were taken as children under our watch. Okay. Right? All of us. Right. There's a collective responsibility here. Now, whether they come back with a different mindset is a totally different issue. And I remember when we started all this clamor, a lot of the mothers said, you know what, bring back our daughters. We don't care whether they're going to come back married, whether they're going to come back with children, whatever state they're in, just bring them back. I still think that has not changed. I think it's our responsibility to do that. Now, there are issues around how do you then deal with the trauma, how do you deal with this, and I'm not even sure it's a misplaced affinity. I think all of us are women here. Once you become a mother, your view of life changes about a lot of things. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that wanting to be with their husbands, I would probably say 80% of that clamor has to do with the fact that they are now mothers. There's a girl who had 4 children.
Wow.
She has a total of 4 children. So, and then we're dealing with a lot of stigma, by the way. So the ones who have come back and remarried into the community are stigmatized. So the other thing is you say, okay, if we say I think we cannot have a situation where we're forceful about anything. I think what we need to do is really work with all of these young women. You understand what I mean? Work with psychiatrists, work with psychologists, work with the religious communities and see how we can, work with them and really, get behind their heads and start to then, take them through. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Part of the headlines this morning said that the parents who are yet to have their children, they said they are still very hopeful that their children will come back. How can we help the parents? Because I'm sure that it's a trying period to remember that or to even think about it that my daughter was missing 10 years ago. Like the Yorubas will say that a dead child is better than a missing child. So how do we help the parents? Are we expecting that very soon? Are we pacifying them very soon? What is the hope we are going to give these parents who are yet to find their children 10 years after?
Okay, so about 3 or 4 days ago, one of the mothers actually was with me. She's one of the mothers who signed the letter. And, that's part of the conversation, we had with her. They keep reaching out to the authorities, and I think that responsibility is there. At the end of the day, the primary responsibility for finding the Chibok girls will lie with the Nigerian military. Individuals can't do it, and I think that's where they need to say, reinvigorate the intelligence. Like I said earlier, enough people have come out from Sambisa Forest for us to know. Information. Let them start to map out a new strategy. What is it that we are going to do to help them? Because I cannot imagine, and I do speak to them. Even though I speak to them, I cannot imagine what a parent must be going through 10 years after.
In your view, do you think the government could have done much better?
Oh, definitely.
And how could they have? Yes, we understand the circumstances in which they were taken away, but what kind of steps do you think the government should have taken to avoid this situation of 10 years?
We left those girls in there too long. Honestly, that is the biggest mistake we made. We should have gone immediately after. As difficult as it might have been, we should have gone after those girls. Those girls were on the fringe of Sambisa Forest for 3 days. We left those girls in there way, way too long. And I still believe it's not lost. I think...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you because you said we left them there too long. And they were in this Sambisa Forest, because the way I hear about Sambisa Forest is not somewhere that the military can just go in. I don't know, because I don't know, maybe there are dragons there, or I don't know, lions as guards. Because the
large landmass.
But for military, I wouldn't think it would be hard for them to go in. Why do you think it has taken them? Why can't they even enter Sambisa Forest? There has to be a reason.
So Sambisa Forest got harder over the years, but in 2014, it was not. I don't believe it was that difficult. I think there was a failure of intelligence. You understand? And then there's this general view, unfortunately, I don't know, it probably no longer applies now, but at that time, where these girls from this community, it's a very...
For a long time, people didn't know. They didn't even believe that it was actually true. For the first few months, the argument was that how can they get that 300? How can 300 people be kidnapped? How can 200 people have... what kind of school had that people? It was all political. People were saying it's a lie, it's not true, it's a lie, it's not true. Until we started having people...
That could have stalled the intelligence also. That could have also
it was that period. They always say that if you kidnapping, the first 48 hours, very critical. But I'm just worried about... I want to hear some good news about the psychology of those that have been rescued so far. How has it been getting them through therapy, talking to them? What has been the reaction of those people that we have been able to get out of captivity right now? Captivity, they've become a life, how has it been resettling the people?
So that's the good thing about it, and that's why I keep emphasizing leaving them too long. The girls who came out earlier are so different from the girls who came out so much later. So the girls who came out in the first 2-3 years, there was an opportunity to, reintegrate them. They were sent back to school. Many of them are at AUN. I'm not even counting the 57 who escaped initially, because some of them are in school in the US as well, and they're getting ready. Some have graduated, some are getting ready to graduate. So that work, and the government, to be honest, most of them went through the Ministry of Women Affairs. They did a good job of trying to reintegrate them back, whether it was giving them remedial classes so that they could go back to school, and so on. And AUN is doing an incredible job for those girls that are there. So the first few years. But the latter ones, who have stayed much longer, have been radicalized a bit more. And like I said, they've created bonds, they've had children. Some were forced to marry immediately upon being abducted. So you can write news. You understand what I mean? They've gone through hell and back again. There's a lot of hunger. Girls, came back and told stories of starvation. There was a lot of, death in terms of, and then the trauma. You understand what I'm saying? And then, of course, there were some who were forcefully converted from Christianity into Islam. But, even the girls that went there as Muslims, I always tell people that, people imagine, it's easier for them. No, because it's an extremist ideology. That's not what they're familiar with. So you can imagine what we're talking about here. So I think for the latter years, those are the ones that we're really hoping that we can create some kind of program. But this program can't be the usual one, because it's going to... I don't even think you can go to any psychologist anywhere in the world and they will tell you, this is how I'm going to do it. It actually has to require a deep thinking about it, because it's such an unusual situation. How do you deal with the agency? A girl who was abducted at 13, who's come back as an adult as 23, she's telling you, I'm an adult, I can make my decisions. But when you were abducted, you were still a child. How do you deal with the agency of that kind of child or adult?
You have a book. Tell us, why did you think it's necessary to write that book, and what's the book about?
Okay, so I didn't start out writing a book.
I'm so sorry. I have the callers been holding on. Samuel, he's still there. I'm sorry. Samuel from Jos. I'm so sorry for keeping you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Samuel.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
You see, let me say, the way we talk and the fight in this country is appalling and developing. I wouldn't want to subscribe to the fact or what they have made us to believe that non-state actors are more sophisticated and they're more efficient than our military. I mean, how do we explain that to even a layman? That non-state actors can be more sophisticated, more equipped, more brave, bolder than Nigerian military. That this girl spent 10 years in the hands of her ancestors and the captors. Please, I would want to enjoy the Nigerian military. Bring these guys back. Even if they are women, they want to see them. Even if they are children, they want to see them. Even if they have been married to the terrorists, who want to see them. Can you imagine what will be going through the minds of the parents of these girls? I mean, it's one thing that even international community will be laughing at us. Okay, let me tell you one thing. The 3 months now, they have broke the line of my wife for non-registering of linking her line with me. And then you listen to see people communicating with their own registered lines, taking ransom.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I didn't get a lot of problems.
He was talking about different things, about the fact that no matter how they are, a parent would want their children to still come back, no matter what. He also spoke about the fact that how come kidnapping is still going on. They've barred the line of his wife, but all kidnappers are able to talk. So how is that still happening? So there's a whole lot the government can do according
They barred the line of his wife because maybe she doesn't have her NIN or something.
But kidnappers are able to
They have an NIN.
Well, I mean, these are questions for the government. But let me come back to you concerning your book. Why did you think it was necessary to write that book? Tell us about the book, actually, first.
Okay, so it actually didn't start out as a book. But in 2015, none of the girls had come out. But I had had the opportunity to meet a few of the parents. So I knew, that, this story was as real as it could get. And there was a lot of denial, there's a lot of, there were rumors going around that it didn't happen. People were like, how could it possibly have happened? So I then said, all right, it's very simple. We know the parents, they live in Chibok. Why don't we send, journalists, a cinematographer, and a photographer to Chibok? That was actually how it started. So they went, and of course it was...
They were not afraid.
They were. The insurgency was raging, was in 2015, was in the middle of the insurgency. And they were actually exceptionally brave because, they all went in there. And they were able to interview the parents. And as the pictures and the stories started coming out, it was like, oh my word, And of course, it was very emotional for them because they would all break down, then they would recover, then they would start. I mean, that's how difficult it was. And it was at that point we actually then thought, okay, when they brought out all the data, and then we started thinking, what do we do with this? And then that was when the idea of a book came up. That it's important for us to tell our own stories because we don't catalog enough of our own stories from the perspective. So actually what the book is about narratives from the parents talking about their children before they returned. The most beautiful thing about it is that when the girls started to return, I would ask them, because I just wanted to know, through those years that they were there sort of, was it dark? Did they know that people were looking for them? And some of them would say yes, some of them would say no. But one of them said, every time Nigeria bombed the Boko Haram enclaves, they would tell them, look at this, they're bombing you because they're not interested in you coming back. So I would say to the girl, there was one particular one, I opened the manuscript, at that time it wasn't a book, and I read out what her mother said about her, even when she was so missing. And then the girls themselves started to actually believe. So it actually played two parts because it then gave them confidence and comfort that we were actually looking for them.
Yeah. So you're like a private citizen that just got involved, or was you like a foundational? Because how did you get involved? Were you just moved by the story and said, okay, let me get a camera guy, journalist, and let me fly them over to Chibok? Or what exactly? How did you get involved in this project of Bring Back Our
Okay, so two things. I run the Murtala Mohammed Foundation, and we've been doing a lot of work around humanitarian response. But in 2009, you know, the story of Boko Haram goes as far back as 2009. 2009, you know, when there was this whole concern about what Boko Haram was going to become, the northern governors set up a committee on Boko Haram. It was one of the first committees, and I was one of the first women in that group. So I started engaging with people who were involved with that group that far back. That's the first thing. The second thing was that Chibok, from a personal perspective, the girls were abducted two days before my youngest daughter turned 14. I will never forget. And I remember sitting there thinking as a mother, can you imagine if it was mine? Close. Yeah, I can't sit there. You know, we really have a responsibility. And then as time progressed and I started to meet the mothers, there's this sense of, you know, trust. You know, what are you going to do? How are you going to help us? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and then we've built, you know, a relationship over the years. I actually went to Chibok for the 2nd anniversary. It was harrowing, yeah. We were, you know.
All right, I have to go on a short break now. When we come back, we wrap up with our guests. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome the grand comedian of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Benga Dainka the First. OJ right here, 7 of 7, like you already know.
Benga right here, 7 of 7, like I'm beginning to know.
It's now time for the question.
You don't scare me one bit. Bata bata, I go drink. So.
Okay. So now one chance for Inter. My first question. Do you remember the names of the winners of that edition of StarQuest?
Of course I do.
Why do you?
And I hate myself for this because I have this question for you.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have with us Dr. Aisha Mohammed Oyebode. She's the co-founder of the Bring Back Our Girls movement and the CEO of the Muritala Mohammed Foundation. Thanks again for joining us. Dami had to step down because she wasn't feeling too well, so we had to excuse her from the show. But still talking about the book. I know Tokwe had a question.
Yes. So when we were on the break, you spoke about the fact that, aside from the fact that the book wasn't planned, the book details from the book served to assure the girls that they were actually actively being searched for. Some people believed in them.
Sorry, your mic they can't hear you. Okay, let me come to you. Question. Oh, let's go on a break. Be right back.
Stay tuned.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather.
Yourself.
How long will it take for you to kiss them, even if it's not sexual?
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest with us here. Tokwe had a question.
Yes. I was going to ask about, I was trying to do a build-up, but really, I want to ask about the comment you made during the break, because you said that there were some other girls that were not Chibok girls, but they ended up being used as Boko Haram suicide bombers, and it was failed. So we were able to capture those girls. Please tell us a bit about the story, because whenever we hear suicide bombers, they feel like these people are criminals or something. But what was it like talking to someone who had a failed suicide bombing situation?
So I start again, like the Chibok girls. I started tracking the failed suicide bombers in 2015. They found 2 women in Cameroon, and they apparently said one of them claimed she was a Chibok girl. So my summation now with hindsight is that she probably was familiar with the groups who may have abducted the Chibok girls. And there was a whole thing of were they Chibok girls? And I said, look, it's a simple thing. The parents are still alive. Why don't you try and get the parents to identify and see? When they came back, they said, no, she was not a Chibok girl. But when we first saw the photographs, it was difficult to identify because she had been beaten. When I say beaten, she had been beaten black and blue. eventually, when she had, the swellings had subsided, she was 12 years old. She was a 12-year-old child. And that was when I started tracking them. I called a friend of mine who is a very well-known psychologist, does a lot of work with women involved in terrorism, Dr. Fatai Kilo, and she used to be in the National Security Advisor's Office. I'm like, what's going on with the female suicide bombers as well, the failed ones? And she said, if it's beating them, that is a problem. She says, we have come across at least 40, but we can't track them. So that now became another issue. I started saying, look, we need to track. We can't. Girls as young as 7
are being used as suicide bombers.
Yes, and when you then look at the statistics, in the entire history of the world, I'm going to repeat this, Boko Haram has used more women and girls as suicide bombers than any other group.
Oh my God.
So if you look at, for example, the Tamil Tigers of Sri Lanka, for example, in 10 years, and they were quite notorious, in 10 years used about 10. The last time the economists tracked it, in 7 years, Boko Haram had used almost 300 women and girls. And when and that's also the unfortunate thing. Again, it's not known. People are not talking about it. But you're seeing pictures of girls, 7, 8. There's a girl who had 3 missions. The first one, she was so young that the battery fell out of her remote control. And she couldn't, so they were in a group of about 4 or 5. She couldn't put it back. She couldn't reach her handler. By the time she finally got herself sorted out, the others had detonated in a mosque in Maiduguri. So she was now taken into Giwa barracks. After a few years, she was rehabilitated. She was released. By that time, her parents had separated. Her father had remarried. Her mother had remarried. And her stepfather said he didn't want a Boko Haram child. So they released her and she made her way back to Sambisa Forest. This time they married her off to a commander. He taught her, and her guardian actually taught her how to use munitions. She started building munitions. She was killing. So you've gone from an innocent girl who didn't have a clue to one
criminal.
Radicalized. Because
radicalized, and that's the fright. Sorry, go on.
No, that's what I was going to say, because a lot of these girls now develop the Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
And
because the terrorists would always accept them. It is in the society that they see them as some of these people were not terrorists. These people are victims. They are survivors. But then the society doesn't accept them. The terrorists welcome them back, and what they will call home is who is welcoming them.
Recently, we were talking about a story about Wadume. I don't know if you know Wadume was a kidnapper that was received. It was celebrated when he came back, and this was because while he was a kidnapper, he was giving back to the community. Yeah. He was building boreholes. He was helping. So he was a hero, like a Robin Hood sort of for his community. And we've seen that these kidnappers have somewhat served the communities they live in. In your view, how do you think we can reconcile community and banditry? Because some of these bandits live with this. What suggestion would you give to government in how to ensure that these communities are also responsible to whistle-blow on these bandits, on these kidnappers, and against their atrocities they commit in the communities?
So I think that's really important, and I think that's one of the reasons why, I'm a lawyer, and so I always talk about the importance of the law in this. We cannot treat everybody that has been involved in a homogeneous way, and that's a problem we have even with the Boko Haram. So you have repentant Boko Haram fighters who are just being integrated into the community. They're not going through a legal process. It's difficult to know who actually did what. I think the law has to play its part. And we have to have a zero tolerance if you've committed a crime. We see it even in peacetime, and we see it generally in Nigeria. We have to have a zero. If you've committed a crime, take people through the process of the law. If there's a mitigating factor that will maybe reduce your sentence or whatever, it's one issue. The other issue is that the reason why these people can do what they're doing is that we have too many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria.
I like that.
Do you understand? Too many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. So, that is why a bandit can be king in his, because there's no local government, there's no water, there's no light, there's no food. The second most dangerous one is they have a lot of ungoverned minds. We have children in Nigeria now millions
that last thing
ungoverned minds
Okay.
who have never seen the inside walls of a classroom. I have met women who have been failed suicide bombers who have had neither secular nor religious education. What do you expect when somebody picks her up? Do you understand what I'm saying? Her mind is fertile, fertile ground for anything. You're not even trying to combat any preconceived ideas that the person has. So until we start to understand that as a nation, we have a collective responsibility to all of our citizens, these are the kind of gaps they're going to see. Islamic State
That's a deeper issue.
Yeah. Islamic State West Africa problem is huge. Everybody thinks, what are you talking about? 2015, as far back as 2015, Sheikh and al-Baghdadi signed an alliance. ISIS aligned with Boko Haram, right? When they were having challenges with people going to Syria and all of ISIS territories, ISIS started telling them, go to Islamic State West Africa province. It's a province, it's very, it's difficult to delineate, but there's a general view that it's within some of the enclaves of Sambisa, maybe the Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. They have an army, they have territory, and so on, yes.
I hear what you're saying because a lot of these young kids, there's so many of them, no education whatsoever.
Nothing.
They're just, just
roaming around.
They haven't, no form of governance. Their governments are the Boko Haram, are the kidnappers. But let me leave that and deviate a bit. I want to talk about Leah Shaibu. Have you heard about her? Because she is another one. She was taken with the Dapchi girls, and she was the only one that wasn't released. It's how many years now? I'm not sure how many years, but I feel very sorry for her. I feel even more sorry for her parents, because there's no word about her.
So Leah Sharibu's case is exceptionally tragic because out of all of them, she was the only one who didn't make it back. But we also must remember that 5 girls also got killed and their bodies never made it back to Dapchi. So you have parents also who actually don't know what happened to their children. My view generally is, but I'm not really sure with Leah, but what tends to happen is that when the girls are first taken, right, sometimes there's a rush to marry them off, to select. Do you understand what I'm saying? And a lot of sexual assault happens very, very quickly. And I believe sometimes that's why you hear of girls who are just not able somehow for them to return. And as far as we know, Leah has actually had children now. So clearly she's been married off to a commander. And believe you me, for every Chibok girl, for every Dapchi girl that has gone, there are at least 10 other women and girls that are unaccounted for that have been lost to the community.
That's what I think one of the most important things that I've heard you say today is when Tope asked about what's the new message, what's the new advocacy, and it's about let us account for these people. Let us know where they are, who they're with. If they choose to stay, it's fine, but at least we know that you are there. So it's critical. Talking about accountability, in your own view, has the government provided any document to say this is who we have? Is there any reference for us to say, okay, we know these amounts are back, we know these amounts are over there, though we don't know exactly where they are exactly, but we know this is amounts. Do we have those data with us as a government?
Not as far as I know. And it's part of the data that the foundation has collected, and that's why we're releasing the report today. Even in terms of the failed suicide bombers, that's one of the things that really breaks my heart, is that they're not documented. At least with the Chibok girls, we are now, we've documented them, so we know how many they are, we know how many we're clamoring for. For those ones, they're not documented, so we don't even know whose children they are, so it's only the ones that make it back as failed suicide bombers that we can document. It's really, really, really sad. Our people cannot be faceless. Victim, do you understand? I mean, it's actually, further entrenches their victimhood. How can you be faceless to our community. And the other thing I noticed that it's also happening with the recent spate of kidnappings is underreporting. That needs to change. I need to talk about that. How do you so tell me something. If you a group abducts 500 people and you underreport and you say they only took 300, please tell me what's going to happen to the remaining 200. Do you think they're going to return them? So we actually find people are literally invisible.
Hey man, I feel like we're over-reporting we're always over-report the number than under-report. I'm surprised to hear you're saying under-reporting, because I just assumed that because we don't have data, I think they've told me to stop saying we don't have data. We have data, but we don't trust the data that comes out. Same way you're saying the number is being underreported. I was of the opinion that the number is being inflated.
Let me take this call. Chief Carlos, we're holding for a minute. Good morning, Chief Carlos. You're live.
Yeah, good morning, Morales.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, everybody?
Fine, thank you. Good morning.
I want to really ashamed of myself to have this kind of discussion here. Honestly speaking, if you know how much the Yaradua allocated for this program, in the sense of Boko Haram, going up the same thing, also the last past president, and we're still on this. Moraya, I'm telling you, and I'm sure that Nigeria can never develop, whether we like it or not. Because it's not fair that if they have told you how much they have located for all those areas, all those packaging, they serve the West African governments. But at the end of the day, talking about him and all those things. Who is deceiving who? Who is deceiving who in Nigeria? Look at what happened to Okoma community. The whole country was born the whole village. Nobody, they can't discover who is doing all those things. Now, tomorrow is really done. Next tomorrow will be the other thing will be Zamfara.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I couldn't hear. I hope our viewers at home can hear him.
I think they can hear, because I picked up a bit of what he was saying. He was really mostly lamenting about the kidnapped people.
Yeah. Okay, so I was having trouble listening to it.
He was talking about the fact that a lot of money was allocated under the Jonathan administration and under the Yar'Adua's administration. That why are we deceiving? Because if so much money is spent to resolve this issue and it seemed like we're not really dealing with the problem. So he's pointing fingers towards government agencies that were in charge. What did they do? Would you say that we've actually been fair in the allocation of money to fighting insurgency and in dealing with the issues that fall after insurgencies? Have we really been doing what we should do with the money that was allocated? Or what do you see? Because you're closer to the situation than we are.
Okay, so I'm not a military expert, so I can't really speak to how much in terms of what has been spent on the army. But I can speak to the fallout, which is that the impact on women and girls of this insurgency has not been dealt with properly. And I'm clear, obviously, that some of the money allocated, part of it was to protect the citizens. That's not happening in this case. And the overstroke under-reporting, the reason why it seems as if it's over-reported is because the numbers are staggering. You wonder, how does somebody enter a community and take 300 people and everybody is... Do you understand?
If you just move on.
Yeah, if you walked in here and took 300 props, this place would be empty. Do you understand where I'm going with this? And then the reason why I know there's under-reporting is every time it happens, you hear a number, then the number starts to go down, then the number starts to go down. The risk with that is even if you under-report by one, that person becomes invisible because we're not counting. And the insurgents are like, well, if you didn't count this one person, then we don't have an obligation to report them, to return them.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of kidnapping that happens that we don't even hear about. Because I remember when the last girls, the Kaduna girls were taken, my cousin now sends a text that's how my friend's family, all his girls were taken in December and he had to pay money. We never heard this story. Do you understand? So a lot of people are being kidnapped every day and
it's underreported.
It's underreported.
So when the last caller talked about money, what came to mind is that also many international organizations sent in money through NGOs to support the communities In your view, do you think some of these monies have been properly utilized? Because many Nigerians always feel like all this bring back our girls, everybody's trying to, everybody just, it's all about international funding. It's all about how we can get this access to international grants and all that. In your view, what has the NGOs, the organizations around Chibok, what have they done to really help support these communities?
Okay, so let me clarify. First and foremost, the Bring Back Our Girls did not get any international funding. The Bring Back Our Girls is a movement of women and women organizations that came together for the clamor for the release of the Chibok girls. No funding to Bring Back Our Girls. But in terms of the funding from the international NGOs and the local NGOs, there's a failure of responsibility on both sides. You know, if you recall, some years back, Governor Shetima did complain, and he said, all this funding that people are saying is coming to the Northeast, where is it? And that's one of the issues that we find that is going on. So whenever there is a humanitarian crisis, everybody comes and they pour money at the same thing. Everybody's buying bags of rice, everybody is buying, the same thing. But the minute the cameras go away, most people disappear. I'll say it, quite. And then you then leave the communities in the wake. Now, the saddest thing about it is that you have also raised expectations because those communities were actually managing their situation by themselves. So is there a failure in terms of how the money has been, or how it's being accounted for? There's no doubt about it. We need to all, begin to ask for all the, especially the international NGOs as well, for a better system so that it's clear what the impact of this money that you're spending. It's measurable, yes. And it's so I'm not saying that maybe there was, there's clearly waste because of the overlaps, and it's not that, maybe there was any, what's it called, negative intention. But we're not doing a good job of tracking, and we're not doing a good job of really understanding and dealing with the need.
All right, so because of time, we have to wrap up very soon, but I think it's also good for us to highlight you as a person. I know you've done quite a lot of work in this foundation to support the girls, support the communities, keep the conversation alive by the book. And but let's come to you as a person. How you told us you worked with Boko Haram community set up by the governor many years ago. But how do you have time for all you do? Like, you also as a lawyer, are you a practicing lawyer, or do you do other things aside from this advocacy for Bring Back Our Girls?
I do a lot of other things. So I'm currently starting to write law books as well, apart from the books like sociological books like this one. I am an entrepreneur, so I also have businesses. I work. I have so I run the foundation, but I also have enterprises that I run. Nice. I just finished my PhD, by the way.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, I did a PhD in law at the University of London, and I've just finished it. And it's looking at actually how the law treats women that are involved with groups like Boko Haram, and so on. So I do a lot of different other things.
You can't leave this show without me mentioning your dad, because at that time it was really tragic when your dad was killed. I hope I'm not bringing bad memories, but you were only 12.
Yes.
When this happened. How did you feel?
Some people don't know her dad.
Yes, sorry. Her father was General Muritala Mohammed. He was assassinated by Dimka, we believe, in 1978. 76. And at that time, the airport is named after him. We saw you in the news a lot in those days, So meeting you today, because they probably were not born.
Excuse you?
I wasn't born, but it's okay.
Wow. I was born 4 years after. That wasn't so far.
So please talk about it to us a bit, just a bit, because I can't let you go without
saying something about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the exciting things really for me is that I feel humbled by his legacy, but I also feel that I am a bit of an offshoot, in terms of the work that I do. My father was exceptionally passionate about Nigeria, and he was really passionate about Africa. My father always believed, and I'm sure you know of that, his famous OAU speech, that of Africa has come of age. He feels that, you know, the Africans, even then in 1976, could take charge of their destiny. I'm a great believer in that. I'm a great believer in Africans. Look at Nigeria. It's such a great country. And we're such great people. And you still wonder, why are we still not able to reach our full potential? And that's because there's always a part of us that is looking back and thinking somebody can do it for us. Somebody can do it for us because we have the capacity. Some of the brightest people in the world that I know are Nigerians. If you release a Nigerian kid now from here, and the child has an opportunity, the child now takes over the place. And this is happening in all organizations. Even the report we're releasing today, there are 3 or 4 young Nigerians from Harvard, from Columbia, that are going to be on the panel. These are kids, young kids who are professors in the United States. So you understand what I'm saying, and that's what my father always believed, and that's what I also believe as well.
I need to come back to you, because you were talking about when you are dealing with this kind of things, how does it feel? You have mental health. Like, I can imagine when this is your everyday activity, you're getting the report, you're talking to these people, they are grieving, you're meeting the children that they've given birth to, and you're like,
you have your own family too,
and you have your own family responsibilities. Like, how do you cope?
So April is always a difficult month. I don't sleep very much because I find that I wake up a lot thinking about, all the different things. But honestly, I feel humbled by that, by the trust, So I say to myself, if I meet girls, yesterday I was speaking to one of them. She was abducted. She came back about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years into the abductions, and she was talking with so much optimism. She was telling me about her school. So I'm wondering, so where am I
carrying the burden?
Yeah, who am I to, not be optimistic with her? And it's the same thing with the parents. I've never seen that kind of singular resilience. In fact, when they're talking to you, and they're the ones telling you the problem, and then they're telling you it's okay. They're telling you it's fine. So, what it does for you is that you then realize that your responsibility has to go beyond your own feelings. And then there's a small community of us that work in this area, so we tend to interact.
About community.
Yes.
Because I remember when this whole Bring Back Our Girls was really huge. So lots of people at the front lines, notable people, everybody. But over the years, people kind of dropped off to move on to other things. Do you feel that, are they still somewhat involved, or, what was your own staying power? I think that's the question I wanted to ask. Like, what made you really stay? Because at some point, people just got tired and moved on with their own lives. I had to do other things. Well, that thing that caused you to stay. And do you think those people who left not because they were tired, but why do you think they left at some point?
Okay, so 2 things. A lot of people stayed. It's just that it's quieter.
Background.
There's not enough media. So, for example, in Lagos, the Bring Back Our Girl movement meets every week at Falongo Roundabout. Every week, unfailingly. Yeah, every week.
No.
Yeah. So that's one thing. The second thing, I think staying power from the foundation is because of the work we had done in the past. We realized usually when there's a humanitarian crisis and the short-term work has been done, some people need to stay in there for the long haul. And that's what we determined that we were going to do. So once everybody has left, we then say, okay, what is left that we need to do? So, for example, now, we have a lot of scholarships for children who have been affected by the insurgency in the Northeast. There are places that are not safe. So we send kids to boarding schools in neighboring communities so they can, so we have our scholarship this year alone, we have 110 scholars.
Wow.
So those are the kind of things, because that's the support that the community needs, and I think that just comes from the ethos that the foundation has developed over time.
That is so good to know. So coming back to you, family and all that. So do you travel a lot? What are the soft side of Dr. Aisha? What are the things you love to do?
So I have 3 wonderful kids, and
all girls, I hope.
No. 2 girls and 1 boy.
Oh, nice.
But one of the things I like about them is I actually got them really involved with, the work that I do.
Oh.
So, for example, my youngest daughter is actually planning something in her school. So, I'll go and speak about it. Well, they're all graduated now, so they're doing a secondary piece and things like that. So I feel lucky. I emphasize, my children know, I put them under a lot of pressure when it comes to education. I don't play with it. I tell them, that's the only thing I can give you. So I really insist on them, getting a good education. Luckily,
yeah. So you're married to a very rather handsome husband. It's like being
I knew we'd get to that.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about him. How did you guys meet and the whole works?
So he's a lawyer as well. So we met in the course of our work. I'm really lucky. He's a very, very, very supportive man. He's very, in fact, even this morning as I was leaving, he's like, just try and not get there, try and not get there late. And he encourages me. And we also sort of, because we're in the same profession, but I practice it from a different angle because of the more of the humanitarian work and he does more of corporate law and things like that. We tend to sort of, engage each other in some of the work that we do. But I really feel really, really lucky. I'm very blessed.
What language does your children speak?
Exactly. I was going to go into cross.
He's Yoruba and you're... So what language do they speak?
So we try a smattering of both. For the children.
Okay.
And then, of course, English is what we generally
I've just Googled your husband.
I see the guy, I find guy. Our pictures, handsome guy. Wait, as my mom's, I think one of my family members, Hans. Somebody said,
I have to say, she's
gorgeous.
Yeah,
3 kids.
Do you exercise? What's your beauty routine like?
I walk quite a lot. And then as I've gotten older, I don't eat that much anymore. I think that's where the challenge. But I walk a lot. I love walking. And when you're talking about the community, one of the things we do is we organize walks. So those of us that work in this whole thing, terrorism and different jobs that are really challenging. So last year we did this really. It was like a 5 or 6 day walk, so that's the kind of thing that we do. We go on long treks, yes.
Nice.
I want to ask about legacy, because you're someone from, you're from a family that has a legacy and you're creating yours as well. Have you ever felt any pressure regarding how to leave your own mark on earth, and how do you feel, what would you want to be, how you'll be remembered as? Like, what do you want that thing that people say about you?
So I think one of the things I want to say is that people say about me is that I was a strong advocate for education. I still think that that's what's going to change the world, and that's what's going to change our trajectory here. So that definitely is one thing I want to be remembered for. Now, in terms of building a legacy, I keep saying that I am humbled by the legacy that I have. It's not my doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I hope that I can take it and do something with it, that even if you ever asked my father today, it would be something that he would be proud of. And, of course, my mother as well. Yeah.
Yeah, your mom is very much into environment.
Yes.
I've noticed that.
Yes.
I've watched her on TVC actually, So you have strong genes on both sides.
Shoes always to fit in. But so what are the next steps? I know that you're still working on advocacy. What's that next step you want? What are you working on, the next steps?
So in terms of books, I'm hoping that I can write a couple more books. I'm hoping that I can do a sequel to this one as well.
This is my own copy.
Yes.
This, all of your eyes are on it. It's my copy.
How is your copy? Did you buy it or she gave it?
She gave it to me.
I brought several more.
She brought several more, so...
I hate this jealousy. I hate it,
Talk to the hand.
Can you imagine? She has no respect.
But yeah, so the books, you get few more books.
Yeah, talked about the legal books that I'm thinking about working on. And then we're hoping to expand the foundation beyond Nigeria now. So we're looking at other African countries, actually across the continent, to start to see how our work, especially our advocacy work, can impact a lot more people.
Let me just use the opportunity to ask this question before you go. perception of northern girls, the perception of northern marriages, it's important for us to begin to change that. What are your thoughts? Because I've met a few northern women that are so strong and powerful, educated. I'm thinking the narratives on that side of town is totally wrong and misguided.
Yeah.
And we really, there has to be a lot of work done to change it. So in your view, how can we begin to work together to change and see ourselves as one and we're all working towards the same objective?
In fact, that's one of the reasons why I think it's important for me to write. You know, I remember when I was at law school, people would come up to me and say, you're from the north when I did go school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You haven't met, there's so many exceptional women from the north. And I think the narrative comes from is that there's not a large enough number in the, you know, sort of not so affluent population. So here, the South, and especially the Southwest, is benefiting from, I so believe, part of it is the legacy of Awolowo, his free education policy. That even now you find that no matter how poor the mother, no matter where she is, whether she's a market woman, that school she has to go. If you remember when there was that currency crunch, there was a lady who went to the bank, I don't know if you recall, there was a, who started to take off her clothes and said if they don't give her money, she's not going to. All she kept saying is that my children have not gone to school for 2 days. She didn't say they had not eaten. She didn't say. She just kept saying they had not gone to school for 2 days. That's how important it is here. That's what we are hoping that we can, you know, inculcate in the north. This mass education, you know, to be able to get as many women and even men and boys, children as well into school. Once we can start to bridge that gap, the brilliance cuts across the country. Even in the scholarships we have, some of the kids that are coming out are exceptionally brilliant. And if you go outside Nigeria, you start to count, you know, it's cuts across. It's just that because there's not a critical mass, you don't see as many.
Brilliance cuts across. I love that. That's the truth. We just don't see it.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
And we have this in the South. We have this way of, you know, looking down. Let me not.
Yeah, because that's important. Because we had that critical mass of people who have been educated, generations to generations. Just go to school. But we need to do that across the board, and we can see they realize that the brilliance.
We talk to our leaders.
Yeah, and this is your leader, man. Thank you very much. I think it was a pleasure having you, Aisha, here. I mean, send our love and regards to your husband and your children.
I will definitely do that.
Wish you the best as you continue to write more books.
Thank you.
Continue the advocacy to bring back the Chibok girls.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you success.
Thank you.
Mission.
Thank you very much.
That's all we can take on today's show. If Waiki will allow me to close the show. See you tomorrow.
You know, you are still my friend right now. because of
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All righty. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century, speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
It's the 7 of 7. My sign in 9th on the social experiments called the 7 of 7 is Owen G. What is the name, or what was the name? You see, I want to make them better now.
Rock Heart.
No, of the goats when they brought it on stage.
The name of that goat.
Yeah.
We should go there.
No, that one easy now.
I'm just drinking this so that I can ask him my own questions. It's not because of
Buga.
He didn't get it. You know. Okay. Mention